The snow fell softly in the quaint little town of Willow Creek, blanketing the world in a serene white. Christmas lights twinkled cheerfully along the streets, and carolers sang joyfully, their voices harmonizing with the crisp winter air. But in a modest, weathered house at the end of a quiet lane, the spirit of the season was nowhere to be found. Inside, Elara sat in the dim light of the living room, the glow of the fireplace casting flickering shadows on the walls. Elara had always borne the heavy burden of her mother's expectations. Once a vibrant woman filled with holiday cheer, Agnes had fallen into a deep melancholy over the years, her health declining as the Christmas spirit faded from their home. Elara longed for the warmth of affection and appreciation, but she received a constant reminder of her mother's unfulfilled dreams. As Christmas approached, the atmosphere in the house grew heavier. Elara's resentment festered beneath the surface, a dark cloud looming over her heart. Each day, she dutifully prepared meals, wrapped gifts, and decorated the tree, but the holiday joy felt hollow. Agnes would sit by the fire, her once bright eyes now dull and filled with sadness, often lost in memories of a time when Christmas meant laughter and love. On Christmas Eve, as the clock struck midnight, Elara found herself alone in the kitchen, the scent of gingerbread cookies wafting through the air. She had baked them hoping to rekindle some semblance of holiday spirit, but the thought of her mother's indifference made the sweetness bitter. The cookies were perfect, yet she felt no joy in their creation. Suddenly, an idea took root in Elara's mind, one that was both sinister and intoxicating. She decided that this Christmas would be different. She would craft a plan to rid herself of the burden that was her mother, once and for all. It was a twisted notion, but in her heart, she believed that freedom from Agnes would allow her to embrace the magic of the season finally. Elara prepared a special batch of eggnog with a dark determination, lacing it with a slow-acting concoction she had stumbled upon in her late-night browsing. As she stirred the mixture, she imagined a Christmas morning where she would wake up to a world unencumbered by her mother's shadow. When Agnes awoke on Christmas morning, the house was filled with the aroma of fresh pine and baked goods. Elara greeted her with a forced smile, her heart racing with anticipation. "Merry Christmas, Mother. I made your favorite eggnog," she said, pouring a generous glass for Agnes. "It's a special recipe just for you." Agnes looked up, a flicker of warmth igniting her tired eyes as she accepted the drink. "Thank you, dear. It's lovely," she replied, her voice a mere whisper. Elara watched intently as her mother took a sip, the tension in the room thickening with each passing moment. As Agnes savored the eggnog, Elara's heart raced with excitement and trepidation. She had imagined this moment countless times, but doubt began to creep in now that it was here. Was this truly the way to reclaim her joy? Was she willing to sacrifice the last remnants of love for the sake of freedom? But before she could contemplate further, Agnes's expression began to change. The warmth in her eyes faded, replaced by a look of confusion. "Elara?" she murmured, her voice trembling. "What did you put in this?" The old woman's breathing grew shallow as realization dawned on her. Elara's heart pounded in her chest, a mixture of fear and exhilaration coursing through her veins. "You wanted me to be perfect, didn't you?" she hissed, her voice barely above a whisper. "You wanted me to be your ideal daughter." A tragic understanding filled the air as Agnes struggled to grasp her daughter's intentions. The Christmas spirit that once thrived in their home was now replaced by an overwhelming silence, a stark reminder of the love they never shared. In those fleeting moments, as Agnes's eyes widened in terror, Elara felt a pang of guilt, an ache for the mother she had always longed to connect with, a mother who had once filled their home with laughter and joy. But it was too late. The darkness she had embraced enveloped her, and she watched as the light faded from Agnes's eyes. The snow continued to fall gently outside, blanketing the world in white, but inside the house, the warmth of Christmas was extinguished. Elara stood alone, the remnants of her twisted plan hanging in the air like a bitter reminder of what she had done. The freedom she had sought felt hollow, as if the very spirit of the season had been snuffed out. As the sun began to rise on Christmas morning, Elara found herself surrounded by the decorations, the gifts, and the sweet aroma of gingerbread. But instead of joy, she was left with an unbearable emptiness. In her quest for liberation, she had forfeited the love she had craved, leaving only shadows behind. The bitter taste of regret was all that remained. In the silence of that fateful Christmas, Elara understood that true freedom could never be found in darkness. The spirit of the season was not in the gifts or the festivities, but in the love and connection they had once shared. And as the first light of dawn broke through the clouds, she was left to grapple with the haunting realization that some gifts come at a price too steep to pay.